All right, a very warm welcome to all of you. This today is a special day for us because we are officially launching our UPSC Prelims 2026 crash course. UPSC 2026 Prelims crash course. It is here. And trust me, this is not just another economy class. This is a complete, carefully structured, high yield journey that will take you from the confusion to absolute clarity in the next 30 videos that we are going to deal. Before we begin, let me tell you why we created this program. Every year, lakhs of aspirants struggle not because they don't work hard but because they don't get the right direction. The prelim syllabus looks small, but the questions are unpredictable. They are very tricky and deeply conceptual. So we decided that this year we will not let you wander anywhere. We will handhold you through every important static topic and current topic. Okay, and I genuinely feel excited that you are here at the very beginning of this journey. Now, before I introduce myself, let me talk about the very good initiative and the institution behind this initiative. Shikara Academy, one of the finest institutions in Telangana and AP, has been shaping aspirants for over a decade. What makes this academy special is not just the results but the vision we have behind it. Our founder and honored mentor, Srimati Deepika Reddy Magham ma'am, needs no introduction. She's a state awardee recognized for her outstanding contribution to civil services education. With her 10, 20 plus years of teaching experience, she has guided thousands of aspirants with her unmatched clarity and compassion. Under her mentorship, we have built this crash course with one simple philosophy. See, teach only what matters and teach it in a way students never forget. This is our motto for this crash course, and I'm genuinely delighted to be a part of Shikara Academy. My name is Ramat Vasanta. I teach economy and current affairs here at Shikara Academy. I've been teaching for the past 2 years, and my own journey as an aspirant has taught me exactly how students feel, what confuses them, and what scares them, and what actually helps them clear prelims. I have qualified for Group 1 thrice and have been closely analyzing UPSC patterns for several years now. So when I teach, my goal is very simple. I want to make economy your favorite subject. As this is my favorite subject, I want it for you also, because economy is not hard. It just need that right explanation and right examples, I would say. Yes, let's actually deep dive into our topic today. We are going to deal basic characteristics of Indian economy today. We'll officially begin our very first concept of this crash course, which is basic characteristics of Indian economy. Now, please remember, UPSC loves this topic. At least one question comes directly or indirectly from here everywhere. Why? Because this chapter is like the foundation of a house. If you don't know what India's economy looks like at the macro level, nothing else will make sense. Not GDP, not poverty, not employment, not budget. So today I'll walk you through the big picture, and not just in definitions, but also in a very logical way, because prelims questions are very much logic based. Okay, let's begin, and let's know what like let's figure out and let's discover what we are going to actually study today and how it is very helpful for us. So if I have to tell you, what does that really mean? India is a mixed economy. The first feature is India is a mixed economy. Now, what does that really mean? Think of it like a partnership. The public sector, private sector working together. After independence, we were inspired by socialist ideas because we needed the government to take the lead in building heavy industries, in building railways, in building dams. But after 1991, we shifted toward a market based approach. right? So UPSC often checks whether you can see this dual nature where LIC, SBI exist, but so do the private banks, right? HAL like PSU and ISRO exist, but so do the Tata and Infosys. So we are checking and we are balancing. This balance is what defines India's economic model. So keep this in mind, because prelims question will often test whether you understand this mixture well or no. Okay, and let us see now India as a developing economy. Okay, see, this is a big picture I would want you to see. Mixed economy always tells us that coexistence of both public and private and legacy of post independence policy. Just analyze how the world's top economies and 10 years growth, and where does India is standing right now. If you see this graph, India is in fifth place. India is now officially fifth largest economy. Fifth largest economy. The it is although classified as a lower income group economy, but now we can proudly say that India is the fifth largest economy by nominal GDP and largest economy by purchasing power parity. We will now learn from social leanings to market based what has happened, what has actually happened in India, and how this growth is possible for us. Let us inquire about that. Okay, let us now deep dive India as a developing economy and its global rank. India is classified as a lower middle income country by the World Bank. Okay, so but at the same time, we are the fifth largest economy in the world in nominal GDP. Nominal GDP. Sounds very contradictory, right? Sounds very contradictory. Here we are saying lower middle income country that has been categorized by World Bank, and here we are saying we are in fifth largest economies by nominal GDP. Okay, this is contradictory because UPSC loves this paradox. Okay, why? Because it forces you to think about per capita income. India's GDP is huge because our economy is huge, but our per capita income is low because our population is huge. Understand this difference. And so we are big but not rich, growing fast but still developing. This contrast is the true essence of India's economic dignity or identity. Let us know how do we calculate or categorize in as income paradox. Okay, this is such an important term for prelims. India is among the top 5 economies, but the average income of an Indian is still comparatively low. So UPSC wants to check whether you can differentiate between size of an economy and standard of living. GDP tells you the size. Per capita tells you the well-being. If you confuse the two, you will lose your marks in prelims. Let us now discuss about this workforce and agriculture dependence. Look at this interesting characteristic. Agriculture employs a large share of India's workforce but contributes a smaller share of GDP. This mismatch is what we call as disguised unemployment. What do we call that? We call that as disguised unemployment. UPSC repeatedly asked questions here because this is a structural weakness. When too many people depend on a sector that produces too little, it leads to low productivity and low incomes. So whenever you see statements in prelims about agricultural dependence, so please be alert on this. And how do we now know we are highly dependent on agriculture, no doubt, but with low GDP contribution. If you observe these things here, see the agriculture, if you see the agriculture and agriculture, livestock and forestry, it is 14%. Whereas when you see the services sector and all other sectors, they are the largest things. Okay, if you see here, it is agriculture. So workforce involved is 45.5% in agriculture. And if please observe this chat and please note them down, you will understand why agriculture has the largest workforce, but it is too little in GDP. Observe both this diagrams and you will get to know. This is, by the way, composition of nominal GVA, gross value added, in quarter 2 of financial year 25-26. We'll talk about this later, but I want you to return to the actual picture and know why our Indian economy, although India is dominant in agriculture services in workforce, but too little in GDP, why we are called as services led growth. This is the middle which is missing, right? In most countries, industry grows first, then services. But in India, we jump directly from agriculture to services. We used to be agriculture dominant country, right? We now have jumped to agriculture to services. We skip that industries. We jump directly from agriculture to services. This is why we say India skipped the manufacturing boom. This gap is called the missing middle. What do we call this gap? The missing middle. Now UPSC won't ask the definition directly. They will give you a tricky statement like India experienced conventional structural transformation. And you must know the correct logic. India did not follow the standard global path. It directly jumped from agriculture to services. So this is the missing middle. What is the missing middle? Industry, manufacturing sector did not grow as fast as services did in India. This is another characteristic, and yes, let us dive into the another characteristic, which is demographic dividend. See, you understand, in this session we are talking about the overview of Indian economy as a whole, as a country, as an economy as a whole. Now the next characteristic we are going to discuss is demographic dividend. India is young. Demographic dividend में India is the rank 1. India is young. Median age is around 28 years. This is a once in a century opportunity, but if jobs are not created, this dividend becomes a demographic disaster. Just imagine, today we are young. After 25 years, our country will become that dependent country and we will be at a verge and risk of demographic disaster if not maintained properly. Why does UPSC ask this repeatedly? Because employment, skill development and labor reforms are the core policy challenges that we are facing right now. And because demographic trends shape future GDP, yes or no? If there are people who are at young age, they can contribute more to the economy, yes or no? Which is why this will matter a lot. See, when it comes to definition, what is demographic dividend? High ratio of working age population from 15 to 59 years versus dependent population. Median age comparison, India has that 28 years, okay, rank 1, and then China second, and then Japan 48 years. If you see India's demographic edge over China, we are ahead of anywhere. We'll have to make sure that we are using this phase properly. So the one challenge that we might face, dividend becomes disaster if jobs are not created. That is jobless growth. We should never get that jobless growth. Moving forward with another characteristics, that is economic dualism. This is one of my favorite concepts, guys. I'll tell you. India has two economies inside one country. One is highly modern, which is with space, which is with satellites, right? Fintech. Now, one is traditional. What is that? Handlooms, and then small shops, and then basic farming, right? So if you see here, if you observe this dualism, we are here and we are here also, right? Just observe this dualism. This coexistence creates policy challenges. The UPSC uses this to build conceptual questions about informal sector, social security, productivity. Just imagine, we'll have to make sure that we are running in a balance. We'll have to take care of the space, satellites, fintech. We'll have to balance that thing. And we'll have to balance the small things called handlooms, vendors, basic farming. So this is how we are traveling in a very dualistic manner. We have technological dualism, use of advanced technology, space alongside primitive technology, that is traditional farming, and we have labor dualism. We have both organized and unorganized sector. Organized sector, formal jobs, social security, small percentage of workforce, and unorganized, we have cash based, no security. We have vast majority over there. So India might face formal versus informal sector challenges. If you see, the informal sector is with 80% of workforce, which is contributing only 30% of GDP, and formal sector is with 20% workforce contributing to 70% of GDP. Here's the gap. So when it comes to informal sector, they'll have low wages, low productivity, limited social security. But when it comes to formal sector, it will lead to high productivity, stable wages, social security. Just observe this gap. Why we are following this economic dualism? Why our characteristic is responded as economic dualism? Now, with this, now let's move on to poverty, inequality, and what is that K-shaped recovery that we have got. India is reducing poverty rapidly. This is very good thing. Okay, especially multidimensional poverty. But inequality is raising. What is this criteria again? Poverty is decreasing, inequality is increasing. The pandemic made this very worse and created what economists call the K-shaped recovery. The upper arm here, corporates and formal sector. The lower arm here is sinking, small businesses, informal workers. Understand that. UPSC always loves this term because it reflects real socio-economic challenges. Let me tell you. When it comes to poverty, we are significantly improvising in reducing this poverty, which is being said by Niti Aayog report. Inequality is showing high because this is being shown by Gini coefficient. The rise in Gini coefficient always tells us wealth concentration is at the top. It is saying that most of our wealth, 90% wealth is occupied by the 1% of that rich people. And what is this K-shaped recovery? Top arm here, green one, shows that formal and corporates growing fast. And bottom arm shows this informal sector struggling a lot. So rich are becoming richer, poor are becoming poorer in India, right? With that, we are moving to next characteristic feature, that is capital formation. This is extremely important for prelims. Capital formation means building productive assets, which is roads, factories, machines, digital infrastructure. India historically struggled with low savings and investments, that you know. But now the government is aggressively pushing capital expenditure, which is very good. So UPSC uses this topic to test whether you can differentiate between money supply, consumption, employment, and actual productive assets. Right? So if you see, what is this capital formation or savings and investment? Rate of investment in the economy, which means building assets like roads, factories, machines. Why they are called assets or why they are called capital gains or capital formation? Because once you build a factory or once you build a road, it can't be demolished. It can yield you the returns in the long term. So if you take in the historical constraint, we had that low savings and investment, and that slowed down our early growth. But now government has been pushing itself to move its turn and transitioning to the capital expenditure in budgets, where it is spending more money in working out for capital expenditure. So the goal for us is to crowd in the private investment by building world-class logistics like railways, roadways, all of these things, which is very important and which is very good. If you see this percentage of GDP that has been growing when it's estimated, just see this, observe this trend here. This is how it works in an economy. But let me tell you, capital formation is always good for a healthy economy. Now, with this, we have completed all the characteristic features of Indian economy. In the further classes, we are going to discuss more and more. Okay, let me tell you the key takeaways. We have learned why our economy is called mixed and why it is again developing, and then we now know why it is our growth is services led. Okay, and how our demographic dividend can lead to disaster. And then dualism exists in both tech and labor. Yeah, so we will now go into the PYQs. One of the PYQs: which one of the following best describes the term capital formation? See, this is very important. Why does UPSC ask this? Because aspirants confuse money with capital. UPSC wants to check conceptual clarity, and the correct answer for this is, if you see the options: increase in the money supply in the economy, increase in the volume of productive assets, increase in employment in the country, increase in consumption expenditure. What is the right answer? Increase in volume of the productive assets, which is, see, money supply can increase without creating real assets also, but consumption can increase without long term growth, but employment can rise temporarily, which is why only productive assets create that future output. That is why option B is correct in this question. Now, with reference to Indian economy, consider the following statements. The question goes like this here: the Indian economy has a high degree of dependence on the agriculture sector. Agriculture contributes more to India's. No, this is wrong. This is right. Right? Agriculture employs more than half of the country's workforce. Yes, yes, of course, yes. So the answers here would be B. Answers 1 and 3 only. So why is this important? Why is this important to know? UPSC often checks whether you can differentiate between contribution to GDP versus share in employment. Agriculture employs many people. That is true. Agriculture contributes to more GDP than services is false. Agriculture employs more than half of the workforce is true. So the combination 1 and 3 only is the right answer. This is directly linked to disguised unemployment and structural transformation, which we are going to learn in the further classes very clearly. Right? Before we close this lesson, guys, I want you to remember one thing. Economy is not about memorizing definitions. Definitely not. It is about understanding India. If you understand the logic behind these characteristics, how India earns, how it spends, how it grows, and how it transforms, prelims becomes 10 times easier. Just understand and analyze the situation. Today was just the beginning. In the next 29 videos, we will go deeper, sharper, and more. We'll cover more exam oriented points. So people, stay consistent, stay curious, and trust the process. Thank you so much for joining today. Let's continue this journey towards UPSC Prelims 2026 together. Good luck to you guys. Good day.